In Oculus Abyss is the second full-length album from TEITAN, a kind of Rotterdam area, Netherlands black metal band. It's a solo project that began as a duo, and they put out a CDR back in 2009. They kind of called it quits from there, and Debbie Hissingen, or Hiskin, put out kind of picked the project back up in 2018 and put out a debut full length in 2019. Weight of the Void was very different from the original sound of the band and wasn't related in any sense other than he was picking up sort of a chaotic feeling. Their first demo was sort of Swedish black metal influenced, and this first debut or debut full length was closer to like that the work which transforms God era Blue Dust Nord, and it certainly had Deathspell Omega influences. I think it's one of his main influences, and I've always heard kind of the post '94 mayhem in a lot of his work as I went through each of those records, as well as Marquee, which is his other black metal project, which predates Titan. It's worth going through Marquis's discography if you can find it. I couldn't find very much of it, as well as Cthulhuminati, his sort of more psychedelic, sludgy, everything else band. It gives you a little bit of context as to the broader-minded range of this particular record, and it sort of prepares you for how different this record is from if you were familiar with the first release. The real preamble for what this is arrived with Vacuum. I feel like a lot of the thought process and sort of exaggerative modus that changes here arrived within the production of Vacuum, and we get a much more elaborate version of that here. So before I get carried away, we'll listen to a clip and talk about what this is. So, if you're a fan of certain Deathspell Omega records, Dodd Heimsgard's discography and how expansive it is, as well as probably understand what Bedouin's End is on a basal level, you'll appreciate exactly the avant-garde sensibilities and varietal style of what Titan does. There's not quite that level of emergent thought. He doesn't interrupt himself quite as often as some of those artists do in terms of breaking the thought or enhancing that. These are much more direct pieces that are flow together in a very driven sort of way that show variety and a bit of finesse, which is more or less his own touch, but certainly has a lot of avant-garde or progressive black metal behind it. So if you're a fan of Code or Laster and things like that, you'll kind of get how this is a little. It's not necessarily post black metal. It's not necessarily industrial black metal, but they're willing to go there if they need to. So the theme of this is kind of what gives it extra push, and I think that beyond the surreal black metal style, which is pretty easily described through other bands and where they've been, we also get a philosophical focus, which is existential, absurdist, nihilist, and as much as people might think, well, that's not normally a black metal subject, it's actually one of the most popular black metal subjects if you really dig into lyrics and read them. Existentialism is a huge part of black metal lyrics, and beyond the fantasy shit and Satanism and all that. So my point being is that this is a very thoughtful record that embraces the existential narratives which are very classic and literate in terms of finding characters in history and in fiction, which embody they're sort of embodied by the song. So to start, there's sort of this murderous sort of death drive feeling to the first three pieces or so. Obviously, Murder Me speaks for itself, but Menstrual Blood and Pomegranate has this elaborate story behind it too, and each of these pertain to literate subjects or subjects of literature, which you can get into more in the in the review a little bit, and you can read interviews with the artist where he talks about this stuff. But essentially, we're getting some very classic examples of existential philosophy in terms of like more of a nihilistic and absurdist point of view, while embodying a character within each song. I don't know how intentional all that was, but he really presents it with a bit of theater, and doesn't just go as far as reading Albert Camus to you so much as giving you a bit of a character from the novel that the song references. And that goes as far as Kafka's Metamorphosis, and some other pieces where you could tell he really got the point. The reading comprehension is high, so these characters make a lot of sense even in the abstract, even within abstract music, and there's a little bit of a genius to that is rare. And it's a different node of this sort of more philosophically minded nihilist black metal touch, which is worth talking about. I know it takes a little bit of precedence in my review over the actual sound of the record, but it's because it is just as important that what this person is saying means something versus the style of black metal, which is pretty readable itself. It is sort of an artsy black metal touch. It doesn't go too far and too indulgent outside of their own obsessions, which tend to be a mix of violent and eerie grooves. So there's a good mix and a good juxtaposition and a general oeuvre that is very practiced and professional. So in that sense, it's a very strong listen. And I wouldn't say that this is going to be too brainy, too deep, too out there for most people who just want to casually listen to a strange black metal record with an interesting vibe and atmosphere. That's there for you if you want the surface level of it. But there's a lot of depth here that you could dig into and appreciate if you sit down with this record, crack open the lyrics, and maybe read a couple of books that maybe you missed in your exploration of meaning. So for me, this is just a very redeeming record. It was kind of a surprising record, and it could have been very aesthetic. It could have been very surface level if it wanted to, but there's a lot more to this. It was very unexpected, especially considering the last record wasn't quite that impactful. So, a great job overall, and a high recommendation for me. You can go ahead and read more about this in the written review, and you can go listen to that record tomorrow.